Welcome back everybody, welcome to a brand new video. This will be my side after the trial games. I've had a little bit of a break, I'm back at it now, full guns blazing, especially ramping up in this time of the season. Uh, so let's crack right into this. Alright, so I've sort of given it away on the screen there, but my D1 pick is going to be Jeremy Howe. I did have in my original team Rory Laird at R1, which he's a great pick. He will be no doubt. I reckon he'll be a top six forward defender at the end of the year. It's just I don't see enough value with Rory Laird. He will be playing midfield, which is great. Uh, and if you don't have no hesitations picking him. I just don't see the value there. Jeremy Howe, I believe, is at minimum 10 points underpriced. I believe he'll also be a top six defender. I know Jeremy Howe came in underdone to the game. That was admitted by the Collingwood coaching staff, but he did look good. And I've got no hesitations picking him. We'll watch and see what he looks like in the Amy game, but if that's good, he'll be in my round one side. I think he's great value, Jeremy Howe, and he can get back to doing what he was doing at the start of last year, which is getting those cheap sixes in the Collingwood back line. Right, onto my D2. This in my original side was Tom Stewart. Tom Stewart has had a little bit of an injury niggle, which sounds funny, taking him out, not Howe, for the same reason, but again, Howe's a bit cheaper. I think you get similar output, and I've moved some other things around, so that's the end of Tom Stewart for now for me. But going into this spot will be Zach Williams, who I had last time, confirmed that he is playing in the midfield role, so that's great for us. Zach Williams, he looked like he was playing there. Only concern is he might be resting forward a bit, but we'll have to see how that plays out. I think Zach Williams will be one that definitely will see more midfield clock and some good scores at Carlton. So I've got no problem. And even if that isn't right, I think every man and his dog has him. So you will not be disadvantaged if he's a bust because everyone will have him. So that's no dramas there. All right, on to my D3, which, well, it was Jeremy Howe, but now it's going to be James Harmes. James Harmes is back in the midfield for Melbourne. So I've been told he was playing there a bit in the trial game, also a little bit back. So we'll be seeing the Amy game. I think I'll have a very good understanding if James Harmes will be in my final side. If it is a midfield role, he'll definitely be there. If it looking more like that defensive role, he will not be there, and that's as simple as that. So James Harmes is there for now, but it's going to be a pretty black and white option if he's there or not come round one. All right, for D4 we have uh, Jordan Clark from Geelong, who also is not 100% confirmed at this stage for my side. That's for sure. He has great scoring potential. He's in a high scoring side, Geelong, which is great, which is why I like him. There's a few injuries around at Geelong. That's a big one being Mitch Duncan. So I do see Jordan Clark getting picked for round one. He'll obviously need to perform to keep that spot, but I think he will, and I think he'll score quite nicely for Geelong. He'll just get cheap points, Geelong being a good side, and they are a high scoring side, so that should work in his favour. Uh, Again, just needs a solid preseason game, and I will pick him. On to my next one, which is Isaac Cumming, who bit of controversy around the report. Some saying Perryman taking the kick-ins, some say Cumming was taking the kick-ins. I watched the game. I did see Cumming take kick-ins, or some of them at least, so you can definitely count him for that. I think he will have that role in the season in some capacity. I don't know if he'll be taking all of them, but he'll definitely be taking some of them. I can see him slotting into that GWS backline, which has had a few outs, as everyone knows. Doesn't look like Lockie Whitfield's getting up for round one either, so definitely a spot there for him. And if it's taking the kick-ins, that will be a point scoring role. And on to D6, which I did have this guy on my side originally as well, was Hayden Young. Hayden Young, uh, again, the report came out that from his trial game he didn't look the best, but I think he will just Fremantle have moved to that high scoring possession game. I think if he just gets in some of those chains, he'll score enough to make us some cash and get out mid season sometime when a premium hopefully drops off for us and we can snatch him up. All right, onto the bench. Rookie backline is absolutely terrible. I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. In fact, I've been tossing up whether to run with this for my loophole and just pick a 170k guy that might play down the track, that will score, because there is guys that we will be able to pick here, but a lot of them are defenders and like key defenders, and they will not score. And I can almost see it as a waste of cash. Like, I don't see us going to get the cash generation. That being said, I have put some cash there in my initial side to try see if someone does come through in one of these Amy games and they look like they might score, or what we can do there. So let's get into it. I've had him in my original side, Lockie Jones, who Port Adelaide a high on. He doesn't look like he'll be a scorer. I don't think he will be, but I've got the cash there. I can, if I'm thinking about that loophole option, I can pull him down to someone, and we'll see. We will see. We're just going to have to see as the teams come out round one. The other thing with this position is, I was having a look at it. A lot of these guys do play after we'll know all the teams on either Saturday night or the Sunday. So I know there's a lot of panic around that rule, but for this position, I think we'll be right. I think we'll know. I don't think we're gonna someone's gonna shoot through in those early games, and we're gonna have to pass on them, and because we know they won't score well. I don't think there's many players in that boat. I think that a lot of them do come out on those Sunday and late Saturday night games. So just some food for thought there. All right. My next guy I've picked, and I'm not confident in this one either, but Highmore. If he does play, he will score. He will score. The question is, will St Kilda pick him? They seem to be wanting to throw other guys down there. And when I was watching the coverage of this game on commentary, it was noted that that's what St Kilda, they don't want one trick ponies. They want the players playing multiple positions. So it looks like Jack Sinclair might be put down there. And if that's the case, it's almost lights out for Highmore. Um, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see what the round one sides come out with, and even he might be the rookie that I'm talking about that I loop. I use as the loophole. Because when he does come in, he'll score. I think he'll score. So, yep. I'm going to leave Tom Highmore there. All right, let's crack on to the midfield. Now, last time in the midfield, I had Rory Sloane as my highest scoring midfielder, and it didn't sit quite right with me, so I've changed that around a bit. I've got some cash into there. As you can see, the back line has definitely had some cash taken out of it, so let's go ahead. Our first one is Sam Walsh, who it looks unique on the side. I don't think amongst top coaches he will be unique, but I think a lot of the sides I have seen do have him in it. I think he will score really well, and it's not like you don't need to be unique in every line. You only need a few players unique, really. Um, Sometimes being with the pack is better, because if they suck, you can go on, you can fix something else first, because everyone's going to have that score anyway. So Sam Walsh, I think, is going to be one of those players. I think we will get the value out of Sam Walsh. I don't think you have to worry about Sam Walsh. He is a jet, and he will improve this year in my book. So I think Sam Walsh slots there nicely, and we can just that's just a score we can rely on. The next one that I've gone with is Sarong. Averaged adjusted 95 over the last 11 weeks, I think it was last year. and he's priced at 83. So that's 10 points under right there. And in the last video, I talked about how these are the sort of players we look for. If you picked everyone, they improved by 10 points, you'd win this game quite easily, and you'd sail away with, well, you wouldn't sail away, you would drive away with a car. It's that simple. So it's Caleb Sarong, unless in the Amy game he doesn't play in the midfield for whatever reason, and they come out and say he's doing some weird role this year. I don't see that happening, but yeah, we'll see. For now, I think he will attend a lot of bounces and he will score that 95, pushing 100. Probably later towards the year, will be pushing 100. So it's all go for Caleb Sarong at the moment. All right. This guy was my M1, but now he is M3. Rory Sloane is another guy. I think he is easily 10 points, 10 to 15 points under. I think he's priced at 75. Let's have a quick look. Um, yeah, he is. So Rory Sloane for Adelaide. I think he will be back in the middle. They don't really have too many options. I think, they probably are going to try some guys through there. So that's the only scary thing. Rory Sloane being the wrong side now in age. He's 30, I think. So he might be pushed out, but I'd probably more next year. I'm thinking that might happen. I think this year might be his last hurrah in there, and we'll watch to see what he does in the Amy game. I didn't get too much out of him out of the trial game, but again, he's older. It's hard to gauge what these older players do in these trial games. So that's Rory Sloane. All right, on to the next one. I had this guy as well. I think everyone's got this guy, Matt Rao. Again, uh, look, even if he doesn't do well, everyone's got him. I don't really need to talk to you guys about Matt Rao. Everyone's got him, so I do as well. On to my next pick. My next pick is Ben Cunnington, who didn't play the trial game due to the concussion rule, but I do want to see what he does in the Amy game, which I believe he'll be picked in. And I do want to make sure that if he's playing predominantly midfield, I think I'll still pick him. There is other options I'm looking at. He leads the list at the moment, but I'd have no hesitations dropping him down to someone else. I mean, you could choose Haitley. Again, Haitley didn't perform that well in the trial game, which is concerning because he's one like these younger players should be the players that look good in these trial games, but he didn't. And then going down, there's a few midfield options in between that 500 to 400k range that we should be looking at. And so Ben Cunnington does lead the list. I'm fine with that. He normally performs somewhere between 90 and 80. So if we got those scores out of him, I'd be happy with that. That being said, there might be more improvement in other positions, or not positions, but players that are more cheap, less, like they're priced less than what Ben Cunnington is. So that's something I'm going to keep in mind. So when North Melbourne play on the weekend, he will be who I'll be watching besides what rookies. So Ben Cunnington, although he's in the side, can someone tell him he's not safe in my side, and he's got to do some big time work in the Amy game to get selected. All right, on to my next one, which is Tom Green, who I did have originally. I had him originally in my side. The trial game looked great. They were saying how if you listen to the commentary of that game, they were saying how they prioritised him over other players. I think I mentioned that as well. Like his competition, Haitley and Caldwell, they got shipped out the door. They wanted Green. He looked amazing. He had that Paddy Cripps look about him. I think the Giants will want to use him in the midfield. There's talk about Canelio Taranto doing the mid-forward role thing, which might be due to the interchange, so they might stay on. So I don't know how that will affect their scoring, if it will be better because they'll be on, or worse because they'll be playing forward more. It's a tough one. Something I'm willing to watch on, but I think Tom Green will be playing predominantly midfield and we'll see a jump in score for him. All right, on to my fourth one, who uh, should be playing midfield for Collingwood, Braden Sire. Uh, and if that's the case, we'll see a jump. Like in, what was it? It was 2018 when they played in that grand final. Towards the end of that year, he was playing really, really like was scoring well, racking up those touches. I remember I had a bet on him in the grand final to get over disposals, and he got it, and everyone sort of tore my head off for that, but I got the bet. So I think we should see Braden Sire push that Collingwood midfield this year with the exodus they had. Uh, if this isn't the year, that's pretty much it for him. This is the year that he has to prove himself. So we'll watch him in the AAMI game, but I'm pretty confident he'll be there and he will average a pretty good score for us and he'll generate cash for us and then we can ship him off later in the year. But I think Braden Sire will be one that will make cash for us and he'll be picked week in, week out, which is important as well. All right, on to my next one. Um, this was Will Phillips in the original side, but it looks like Tom Powell has overtaken him unless something happens in this AAMI game. I heard that maybe Will Phillips is going to get played in the AAMI game. But I think it'll be one. I think one of them will get the gig round one. At this stage, I have to lean towards Tom Powell because he played the trial game. Phillips didn't, so that's where I'm leaning to at the moment. They're both going to score well over over the journey, but it looks like Tom Powell might have the nod for round one. All right, on to my next pick, and this guy dominated for Sydney, Goulden, um, and he had, by all reports, turned the game in the third quarter, although a trial game, so I don't know how much you can read into that, but he did do really well, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the Swans lineup for round one. They already sort of know, being an academy player, they know what they're getting, so uh, I would not be as surprised at all to see him line up. All right, on to the next one, and this guy has got a spot for himself on the wing at Hawthorn. Downey, uh, yeah, he looked good. There's definitely that spot there. Hawthorn of Scully retiring, Smith's gone, so Phillips probably one wing, Downey the other. But we'll sort of talk about Tom Phillips a bit later. But that's where I'm going at the moment. Downey, I think he's a lock for round one. All right, on to the Ruck. Now, the Ruck, since I last released the side, has had two big injuries happen to it. One being Bruce, one being Marshall. A lot of people were doing the combo where you could put Marshall in the forward line, have Bruce in the ruck, and a ruck forward in R3. But now it's all changed around. So I've gone with the set and forget model, and so I've gone the Gawn and Grundy model. Max Gawn will have a great start to the season. I'm pretty sure unless something catastrophic happens. I think he's got a very good run coming, and he'll be captain for me. With the rolling lockouts, you'll be able to loop it. So if you've got Gawn and Grundy, you'll be able to see what one does. If one doesn't fire or one does fire, you'll be able to captain or vice captain and loop accordingly. So Gawn and Grundy for me. That being said, if you want to go get Rob in there, that would be fine as well because he scored very well as late last year. But I think Gawn will be the top scorer, although he might be a little bit priced, wise. He might be a little bit overpriced, but I think we're getting like the dollars we pay for is what we'll get. He'll sit on half back intercepting. He'll go forward and kick goals. He'll ruck for us. He will do everything. So Max Gawn's a champion, and Grundy, I think, a little bit underdone last year. I think sword towards the end of last season. They were trying to preserve him a bit, and they were trying to get the other guys into Ruck to help him out, to save him a bit, just because they had Collingwood had a jam-packed schedule. I think at the moment we don't have that. We'll see what COVID throws at us next, but at the moment we don't have a jam-packed schedule. And I think Grundy will get a week's rest each week, and he'll push back up to over 120. So yep, Gawn and Grundy, captain options right there. All right, everyone's R3 is going to be Flynn. He's now number one ruck at GWS with that Bruce injury. So that is a one. He will generate cash. If you want to put him at R2, be my guest, but I do believe these two will you'll run away with points, and the people that do this strategy will fall behind. So, yeah, that is my ruck department. All right, now on to the forward line. My F1. This guy was F1 last time. Pretty much has been out of the team until this video, and now he is back into the side because by all records, he's playing midfield. He only played half the trial game, but he was in the midfield and then was doing laps to get some more running load, which I'm fine with. Dangerfield, of course, I'm talking about. With the way that Geelong now are going to be setting up forward, it looks like Danger's going to be into the midfield, which is fantastic for us. He'll be the highest scoring mid, or maybe not the highest scoring, but forward, sorry, not mid, but he will definitely be up there, and we need him, in my opinion. So Dangerfield, a little bit underpriced too, if he's playing midfield, so that's great. Dangerfield, an easy one for me to pick there. All right, on to my F2, and this guy is also in a lot of teams. Tom Phillips. I said I'd talk about him a bit later. In that trial game, he did play inside midfield, not the wing. So Tom Phillips, if that's true, and he's playing inside, that's even better than the wing role. And there's no reason that he can't push 100 if he's in the inside. If he's on the wing role, 90, but still 10 points underpriced there. So yeah, still getting a bargain, and someone that I think would score pretty nicely for us. All right, on to my F3. This pick I feel a bit dirty about, but I think the value's there. And I'm picking Joe Danaher. Joe Danaher. I should have put more characters in. There he is. Joe Danaher. Massively underpriced for what he can produce, as long as he doesn't stay injured. As long as he stays injury free, I think he'll make cash for us. I saw early on. I saw a comparison Tom Green to Joe Danaher, and I was like, "Oh, which one do you take?" And probably, and at the time, someone said both. They're both going to make a lot of cash. And now, after seeing Joe Danaher do so well in the trial game, he's fit. He's been training the house down. Throwaway line, I know, but he's doing well, and I think Joe Danaher will be one for us. He said to be doing the backup ruck role, so there'll be a few extra points there. He'll kick his goals. Brisbane, the way they play, they do get it in there a lot. So as long as Danaher kicks straight, I think that's probably the only way we're going to lose points on him. And Danaher will make us cash. And when he does get injured, let's hope not, but let's be honest, the chances are he probably will. He'll have made enough cash for us, and we'll be able to get a forward in maybe after round 6 when we get some more forwards, or the forwards as they are have sort of sorted themselves out, and more stability there. All right, on to F4. This guy has rocketed into a lot of sides after his trial performance and how he's came out looking. Paddy Dow. To be honest, I didn't have him on my radar until this week, but if he does get picked for Carlton at that price, even if he's scoring 70s, 60s to 70s, that's enough for me. He'll make the money on that output, and he'll be what we're looking for. I mean, when we're looking at these guys, he'll be the same as these guys up here in the defence line that I picked. So Paddy Dow, someone that hopefully will play most weeks and make cash, and more safer than these rookie picks that I'm not so confident on. All right, on to my F5, which is Campbell from the Swans. looked really good in the trial game. Been stated that he's going to play that half-back role, releasing Mills into the midfield, and Mills did play in the midfield, so uh, that that's what has made me really confident about Campbell that he'll play. Is like they've stated they want Mills in the midfield, and they do that. That's a role they need to fill. So looks like Campbell's got it. He looked like pretty elegant off that half back line for them. So and from what I saw, he made space for himself to be available. So not only that, he looks like he'll be a scorer. So that's something that's really good for us. Onto my F6, and this guy I haven't seen, so because he didn't play due to a tragedy, which is Finlay McRae. Uh, let's hope we get to see the poor fella this week. All the best to the McRae family. Obviously, the brother is also one of our fantasy favourites, and hopefully Finlay can be the same. Let's hope he does really well in the Amy game and presents as an option in round one. As he also should be a scorer, not like some of these other forward rookies that might not be, but we're going to pick on the bench in a minute. If he doesn't play, this is going to present a problem for me because I don't think there's much else there, but we'll see what comes out of the Amy game. And this may be a restructure in the future if he doesn't play round one, because I wouldn't be confident fielding one of these guys here. So we'll see how that looks. But anyway, on to the next one. On to my first bench spot. I've picked Rowe from Adelaide. This guy looked good in the trial game. I would not be surprised to see him picked in round one. The next one I'm going to pick is Harrison Jones from Essendon, who also looked really good. Again, these guys aren't going to be big scorers, but they are warm bodies on our bench, and hopefully they can pop up for one or two good games, make a bit of cash for us, and yeah, that's what we'll want from them. So let's see. They're cheap, and they look like they're going to play, so that's good. And then finally the utility spot, which I've got 182k left for, so it will just be a generic 170 person. I'm going to put down Meek from Fremantle, the Ruckman. Sean Darcy, that doesn't look like he's going to be getting up, so maybe it's going to be Meek. He did play there in the trial game. There's also Tracy, who is probably the other ruckman from Fremantle, who may get a gig there or up forward. We'll have to see. But it will just be a generic 170k guy there. I don't see anyone of real value getting put there, to be honest. Let's hope it's better than last year. I think a lot of people like had a Kavara or a Ben Davis or something in that role last year, and this brand new utility spot meant nothing for us. So anyway, I've got that. So that is my side. I'll sit with this for a week until we have a look at the Amy games, and I'll do a video on that next week. I'll release, and then we'll see if I make any major changes before round one. I might have to do a video, but until then, happy playing around with your sides. If you like this video today, please slap a like on it or a comment. Feel free to tell me that this is the worst side that you've ever seen in your life or the best side. The comment is really what us YouTubers go for. Slap the like. If you want to listen to my content in the future, please subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon.